Welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing a get ready with me and discussing And Just Like That season 3 episode 11. Now we're entering the 2 bonus episodes which is supposed to give the girls a great send-off for this planned series finale. What did you guys think? I'm giving you my thoughts right now. So if you watched my last episode, then you will know that my prediction for this episode absolutely did not come true. I was hoping for a big time jump a la think House of the Dragon, where we catch up with these girls about 2 years or so, or maybe a year, or even a few seasons after the events of episode 10, and we get to see some of the resolution of what's been happening with them over the course of these last 2 episodes. Of course, that didn't happen. We ended episode 10 in the fall. Fall was just starting, the leaves were changing, and in episode 11, we're at Thanksgiving, and everyone's getting ready for Thanksgiving, and we are visiting the various households. Carrie's getting her giant order of pies. There's a little bit of a cutesy moment at a bakery that is very New York, and Carrie happens to be in her old neighborhood. She's feeling nostalgic. Gee, I wonder why. Walking down the streets of her old neighborhood, and she runs into the girl she sold her apartment to when she moved out because Aiden couldn't stand her apartment. Anyway, so Lisette, I think is her name, is reeling from a breakup. So she invites her to Friendsgiving at Carrie's old place. They're always joking back and forth about Carrie coming back for the apartment someday because she gave her an incredible deal when she sold her the apartment. Next, we see Carrie meeting with her editor, I think, and she's giving her notes on the book. She loves it, except the editor is like, so can't wait for the final chapter, and Carrie's like, what you talking about, Willis? It's done. Well, turns out the editor has a very strong point that this is a book that's set in like the 1800s. And so if you have a woman in the 1800s who somehow ends up completely alone, meaning her love has died after reuniting with him after the war or whatever, that this would be a tragedy. So she calls the story a romantic tragedy. Of course, Carrie doesn't love that because this character is loosely based on her and her misadventures with Aiden. So that characterization, I guess it hits her in the stones. And so she is encouraged by the editor to go home and work on an epilogue for the character so that it in context fits as not a sad ending, but a happy ending. So then we get to watch Carrie for the remainder of the episode kind of search for her epilogue, which will in turn, of course, be the character's epilogue. We kind of get to watch her mope about this kind of for the entire episode. Sorry to say, there's not much else that happens for Carrie this episode. For some reason, at some point, she toys with the idea that she might have been happier if she'd just still been in her old apartment, which, newsflash, yeah, the only reason you left that old apartment is because Aiden couldn't bear the fact that this was a place where infidelity had happened and he got his heart broken. She goes to Friendsgiving. For some reason, Lisette is doing a horrific renovation, splitting the apartment with her friend so that it is awkwardly all of a sudden walls inside the apartment everywhere, and Carrie finds it disorienting and doesn't feel like this is home anymore. So I guess the moral of that story is you can't always go home. But I thought she had had a moment like that at some point in other episodes in the season. But either way, I guess breaking up with Aiden brought her back to this moment, and she kind of confirms that this is no longer her home. Charlotte is helping Rock with final preparations for school play, Thoroughly Modern Millie, and Harry is struggling with erectile dysfunction after his prostate surgery. It's a known, I don't want to say common, but it's a known complication of this procedure and sometimes can resolve itself. So that's what he's dealing with. That's good subject material for an over 50 married couple who just had prostate surgery. Rock is coming out of her room dressed up in her stage costume, and she's very girly, and this is stunning to Charlotte because of course she never gets to see her like this, as Rock identifies as non-binary. She had a they mitzvah and her pronouns are they them. This is not new news, but we find Charlotte, I guess because she got to see her dressed up all girly, we find Charlotte newly grappling with this. I have to say, for this topic, I was simultaneously empathetic and annoyed. As a mom, I totally am empathetic with the idea that if you see your trans or non-binary kid dressing up in a gender role that you associate with them, and it makes you nostalgic for what it could have been if Rock was a girly girl, I guess. I really liked that we were exploring that. I just hate that we were waiting till now to explore it in any way. And even then, all we did was she mentioned it to her friends and she asked Carrie to take her a picture of Rock while she was on stage. And then we see her in her closet at the end of the episode, pretty much mourning over the picture and then forcing herself to delete the picture. I thought that was a bit superficial considering how little we've given Charlotte to do in the series, how little we've given Charlotte to do in season 3. I think her character could have balanced Harry being sick and grappling with her feelings about her child's gender identity. I don't know. Call me crazy. That would have made for a much, much more interesting arc for our dear Charlotte. And I think it would have been so realistic that she and Harry got the news, they received it well, pretty well for people their age, but they didn't just ride off into the sunset, right? That they're going to hit bumps along the road where they are confused about how to handle her gender identity or to handle their gender identity. You see how I screwed that up because I'm an old? Yeah, exactly. I would have liked to see some of that happening throughout the seasons because that's realistic. It didn't have to be the focal point of her entire story, but it would have been a lot better than a stupid Vertigo storyline that went absolutely nowhere. Something like an evolution to acceptance or celebration, but an evolution. It just came out of nowhere for me. What's going on with Seema and Adam? They're saying I love yous. I don't care. I feel like this whole Seema arc is very confusing, very back and forthy, very pointless at this point. We're giving her a relationship that's rapidly evolving out of nowhere with a landscape architect. The whole thing, to be honest with you, it's giving Smith Samantha energy without having earned it at all. Samantha, if you recall, with her relationship with Jerry, who she renamed Smith, and he became like the hottest thing in Hollywood, our experience watching Samantha fall in love with Smith reluctantly, because we know Samantha, she's a sex only, no feelings kind of girl, but we also know that that comes from deep wounds that she has from previous relationships and maybe something that went on as in her childhood. They never quite get into that, but we know that they had hinted more than once throughout the season that her behavior was obviously a trauma response of some kind, and that although her friends totally accepted it and saw it as her way of taking back power from whatever situations she's gone through, we, the viewing audience, knew that Samantha wanted love. Here we are with Seema, someone we kind of just met. We don't know very well. She's been through a few things, but that's really all we know about her. We don't know anything about her history, her life history. We saw her in one relationship that didn't work out, and now we're supposed to understand why there is a seemingly normal human being who is inviting her to Thanksgiving, and that's freaking her out, and she's not interested, or she doesn't want to go, or she's not sure she wants to go, or she thinks that, I mean, all of her feelings may be valid and might be understandable if we actually knew a thing about the character. I have no idea why she's so on the fence with this relationship with Adam. I thought, is it the age thing? Because they do seem to be very visibly different ages. Sorry if that's not accurate. Or maybe I thought it would be interesting if they'd explored it from a cultural angle, like he's very like Manhattan white and she is of an Indian background. Might have been interesting, but we don't quite get that. We just get her hesitation without a lot of understanding. I'm not always like trying to compare her to Kim Cattrall, but they kind of make it hard for me not to. LTW doesn't get a lot to do this episode. She is still dealing with Herbert, who is dealing with his election loss. Herbie is not happy. He lost the election. I thought he was taking it in stride last episode because he seemed to be. But this episode, we got to watch him pout and be pretty self-pitying, and in some instances be pretty rude to LTW. And in one particular instance, be pretty rude to LTW when she tries to encourage him. I don't know where they're going to take that. It seems that we're not done with the devastation of his loss of New York City comptroller. Honestly, like the energy that he's putting into it, you would have thought he was running for governor or mayor. I'm just saying, like, calm down. Just when Miranda's storyline was actually getting on track and heading somewhere, it kind of takes a weird beat. Miranda and Joy are at the table planning Thanksgiving dinner at her place, and Brady's going to be cooking. He's going to be cooking for them and their whole family together. I'm imagining Steve's invited with whoever he's dating. Brady walks in to find out that his baby mama, and they actually use that word, that's why I'm using that word that way. They say Brady's baby mama, and I was like, are we still saying that? Okay. Brady's baby mama has been invited to the Thanksgiving dinner at Miranda's house. Brady apparently was not aware of this and not cool with it. He walks in, guns blazing, and lights his mother up for having invited her to to Thanksgiving. I guess he doesn't feel that the woman deserves to be there. I find that odd because she's carrying his baby, but I'm not sure what conversations have taken place between Brady and Mia where maybe she's made it clear that she doesn't want anything to do with him, and so he's trying to move on. Like, they haven't given me anything to justify this kind of nasty behavior towards the woman who's carrying his child. Then, speaking of nasty behavior, Brady goes on to unleash some bombs, F bombs at his mother in her house, like standing right there at the table. And he walked away from that situation with all of his body parts intact, which confused me. Because if at 44 grown years of age, I would never use the F bomb at my mother ever. It doesn't matter what she did to me. Like, it's not going to happen. So Brady disrespects the hell out of Miranda in her house and then walks into a room in her house and slams the door. Joy decides, you know what, this is too much for me. I told you I don't do families. So she ends up canceling her RSVP for Thanksgiving. So Miranda's Thanksgiving dinner is falling apart. Also, Charlotte is not going to be coming to Miranda's Thanksgiving because Harry and her have a very touching conversation where he reveals that he really wants to have Thanksgiving at home because he didn't know if he was going to make it to this Thanksgiving. He just kept telling himself, keep going, keep pushing until Thanksgiving. And he kept picturing this beautiful scene of him and his whole family at the table. And so now that he's actually made it to that finish line, he wants to have Thanksgiving at home, just them. I think that's a reasonable excuse to beg off of Thanksgiving at the Brady Hobbs residence, where crap just hit the fan anyway. It's not going to be a nice dinner. Not sure what's going to happen with that. If Mia's going to get uninvited, if Brady's going to get his face slapped, or what? In other news, Anthony gets engaged at Bergdorf's in the dressing room to his beloved Giuseppe. It's a cute moment. I didn't see it coming, to be honest with you. I thought their relationship was still kind of new. I guess Giuseppe realizes how well Anthony cares for him and how much he loves him, and it just inspires him to get down on one knee and propose. And it was a cute moment that we didn't get to enjoy that long because Anthony at the in the lobby waiting for Thoroughly Modern Millie to get started, he tells Carrie, I don't think I want to get married. I'm having second thoughts. I said yes because it was a moment. Carrie's like, I totally identify with saying yes because of a moment. And I thought that was funny. I'm certain she was referring to her accepting Aiden's proposal when she shouldn't have back in the day. They don't really get into it because Giuseppe is there and he's so happy running around telling everyone that they're engaged. So I really feel bad for him that Anthony's feeling this way. I'm not Anthony tells us the reason he's feeling this way is because although he loves Giuseppe, he also feels like he has to parent him a lot, like take care of him. And he's not sure he wants to sign up for a lifetime of that, which just doesn't ring accurate to me at all. I mean, he didn't turn into a young man while you were dating him. You started out dating a man who's significantly younger than you, so much so that his mother had a huge problem with the relationship when she came to town. That was like the whole plot point. And now you have a problem with his age? And also, Anthony, you're not getting any younger. Most people your age would definitely have the logic that marrying someone younger is to their advantage because, yes, he may have some maturing to do that you'll have to deal with. But also, when you're old, the trade-off is that hopefully he sticks around to take care of you. I don't know. The logic is a little flawed to me, and it just feels like they're trying to find something to do to bring controversy for Anthony. Can't just let him like run off into the sunset and be happy like he was whenever he married Stanford. At the end of the episode, Carrie returns to her desk, looking out of a window with her laptop, and begins to write the epilogue for her character. I guess she's nailed it. It's sketching out something about the character getting an invitation to a Christmas party of some kind and a promise that there will be an eligible bachelor at that Christmas party who the character may find another chance at love with. I don't understand where this came from. It didn't have anything to do with what happened in the show. We know for sure Duncan is not returning. Seema let her know that he is not renewing the lease on that apartment below her and isn't giving her the chance to purchase it as a home so that she will be the owner of the entire building, which would be to her advantage if she wants to resell the place she has the ability to say, like, this entire unit is for sale, or to break it up if she finds a buyer who's only interested in one or the other. That's a smart real estate decision. Carrie actually gets a little bit, I don't want to say miffed, but she's a little bit snippy with Seema because she thinks that Seema's implying that she should not stay there long term at Gramercy, and that's not at all what Seema was saying. And so while they're having that discussion, I guess she's just a little bit sad because that means it's clear that Duncan has no intentions of returning. I said last episode I actually hope that they don't do this thing where they hang on to each other and they just let this die where it was at the apartment. They had that great time and everybody move on. I guess she didn't move on from that experience. So, but yeah, Carrie, this is a great real estate investment and also a smart one. An apartment that is attached to your home, it becomes available before it's available on the market, and you learn of its sale, you absolutely snatch it up if you can afford to, which we know she can, because of the neighbor thing. If you're going to stay there, you definitely want to have control over who your neighbors are. You want to have control over who's renting the apartment beneath you, since they can clearly have an impact on your lifestyle in your home. But anyway, she didn't particularly, I guess, like Seema letting her know that. So I guess she won't be buying it, who knows? But either way, that was used as a vehicle to introduce the fact that Duncan is not coming back. I'm not sure where the handsome stranger is going to come from or what this epilogue now has to do with her current situation. Or I guess she's allowing the character to diverge in a more hopeful direction from her actual life. But either way, that was not the epilogue I was expecting. And this episode was not the epilogue I was expecting for this series. I was actually hopeful that this 2-episode run, this beyond 10 episode development, would allow us to reach a conclusion for these characters. I'd heard some rumors, not sure if you've heard them, but I'd heard some rumors, like word on the street, that the end of the show being coming to a conclusion, that announcement completely took Sarah Jessica Parker by surprise. As in, Michael Patrick King claiming that everybody knew and they were in on this, mutual agreement that the show had reached its conclusion was complete BS. Not shocking. So I guess that statement Carrie released was, trying to save face, basically, that she just learned, like the rest of us, that her show was not being renewed. And I have to say, I don't usually give much heed to the rumor mill, but the way that episode 11 is going story-wise, I have to say, it looks like the writers and these characters think they're getting another season. I thought they would be like very conclusionary, 11 and 12, what's happened with them and how we're sending them off. No, it does not appear possible that in one more episode we're going to wrap up all of these storylines. It looks to me like the rumors are true and they were expecting another season. That's why they're going to leave so many things open-ended, like what's going to happen with LTW's marriage. Is Harry ever going to get erectile function back? What is Charlotte going to feel about Rock in the future? Are they ever going to have a deeper conversation? And of course, the Brady situation. So open-ended. We have no idea what's about to happen for Brady. So yeah, I hate to say it, but I think the rumors are true that SJP did not see this coming, and she definitely thought that they were going to have maybe one more season, like one final season, to wrap things up. That's the impression I get, and nobody in episode 11 is behaving like they know cameras are about to stop rolling. And I know they're characters, but I'm just saying the screenwriters did not in any way make a pivot towards wrapping up these people's stories. I think that's telling. I mean, what did you guys think? Wasn't my favorite. I really was a little disappointed in what we got. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so please drop a comment below. And if you haven't already, please like, subscribe, and share my channel. Looking forward to your comments. Talk soon. Bye.